Drop it.
It's a little bit crazy. You're suddenly blurry now. I wonder if anything was real. All our history's hazy, like driving in the pouring rain. Are we in too deep to heal? You tell me that you're sorry, we'll make up tomorrow. Tell me everything you know I wanna hear. I'm trying to be open, but that window is closing. And either way, I need to make it clear before we're leaving here. Before we're leaving here.
I know it ain't easy, but there's something left to hold on to. We can work it through, you don't have to go. There's a future here with me. We'll find the light in a clouded room. Not giving up until you know.
You tell me that you're sorry, and we'll make up tomorrow. Tell me everything you know I wanna hear. I'm trying to be open, but that window is closing. And either way, I need to make it clear before we're leaving here. Either way, I need to make it clear before we're leaving here.
Yeah, and shalom, everyone. Shalom. I want to welcome everyone to the house of the lost sheep of Israel. And today we're going to be going through the book of Hebrews as we normally do on every Tuesday. And I do want to make sure that we clearly get that, these studies that we're going through, it's not for something for you just your leisure time, but this is what you need to learn for what we need to be seeking in these last and evil days. But one of the main things is I want to also point your attention because coming up on the 19th of this month, I'm going to show you something that actually going to be very interesting. We have Deacon Smith and Deacon Micah. They teaming up again. They're going to team up again, and they're going to tell you about Christmas, a heathen holiday. Now, I'm going to just spill the beans a little bit on this, but I'm not going to go into it. But they're going to actually share it with you guys. They're going to tear down and show you and talk about the birthday of Yahweh Shai, the Messiah, or Jesus Christ. You're actually going to find out what his birthday is and what it's about in the day it's on. So he has shared with me these things, and we went through it, and he clearly knows what he's talking about. And he's going to go through it, and he's going to share this with you guys. So if you get a chance, you make sure that you get over there, and he got it on his site right now. So you go over there and you make sure that you tie that into him and put that date for December 19th is what he's going to be doing. And they're going to be sharing with you the day and his birthday over on that date. So that's going to be an interesting time. And with them two, they teaming up. They, I'm telling you, boy, I'm talking about, it's exciting when them two get together and they actually teach together. Because I'm going to tell you, they drop some hammers for you, and they be dropping the hammer down. So with that, we're going to sit there on the 19th, and I'm going to make sure I'm going to be in front row, front and center, because I just enjoy to see them two young brothers go through and they just do surgery on the scriptures. So we're going to be looking at that, and I'll make sure that each and every one go over there to OKC, King James Bible University, over there ran by Deacon Micah. And he got his brother over there with him, Deacon Smith, and them two going to sit there and they're going to do what they do best. So with that, we're going to be going through Hebrews. We got to look at Hebrews because we got to see what's going on over there also with Hebrews on what we've been working on. Now, last week, what we did, we stopped at Hebrews chapter 3 and verse 6. And the same thing is what we're going to do today. I had some comments yesterday in the back where we had one where she sat there and it helped keeps me regulated, which is good. And what she was telling me is she had something that went on with her, and she sat there. She said, "Well, still when you teach," she said, "Elder Johnson, you're going a little bit too fast." And my thing is, I can't complain with her, and because I do hear this here and I hear it there, and I done heard it from some elders and things like that, and what I got to do is they say, I need to slow down a little bit for them, because sometimes I might be in a flow to where I'm just going through, and they don't have time to take notes. So my sister, she let me know that, hey, I'm going a little bit too fast. And then I spoke with one of my deacons today, and the same thing. He told me, he said, "Hey, when you do Romans," he said, "Man, you moving at a pretty good time." He said, "But sometimes you get on the other ones," he said, "I have to go through there a couple of times." So I know I need to slow down, so that's something that where they help me keep me regulated. So I'm gonna slow down some and make sure, and I'm pretty sure she'll let me know in the back later on today, because mainly what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna run through the precepts when we get in the back, and then that's pretty much how we're gonna run it, just to kind of cut down time on there. But the main thing is, I want to make sure they get it in the front. I want to make sure they get all what they need to know in the front. So I will check with her again, make sure everything is good. So if everything's good, then I know how to regulate, because if not, she will let me know, as well as my wife will let me know, and each and every other person, where they sitting there saying, if you're going too fast, we need to slow down, and to where they can write everything down. So there's nothing wrong with that. But what we're going to do, we're going to pick this up. We're going to look at this right here in Hebrews chapter 3 and verse 6. And this is really key on what we need to be doing and pay attention to what's getting ready to happen. So we're going to be looking at this, and they're going to also look like a re-look back at everything else again. But it's going to tell you something here in 3:6. It says, "But Christ comparing as a son over his own house. Christ as a son over his own house. This is going to be highly, highly interesting as we go through this. The reason why I say that is because it's going to make us look back at some things. Because when we start going through this, and he's saying, but Christ as a son over his own house, whose house we are, if we hold fast to the confidence in the rejoicing of the hope firm unto the end. Meaning, excuse me. So he putting Christ over the house. We're going to find out a lot of stuff about this. A lot of stuff we're going to find out here. Because when we go back here, I'm going to show you something back up in verse 3. And we're going to see something why he put Christ over the house. Christ over our bodies. Let's look at this. It says, for this man was counted worthy more glory than Moses. So just like I said before, when we went through a couple of weeks, it's saying that this one is counted more worthy than Moses. It's telling us something key because he put Christ over the house. So when we go down and we look at verse 4, it says, for every house is built by some man. We was keying in on this thing here because we got to find out what exactly altogether why he had to put Christ over the house. Let's look at this a little bit. It says, because every house is built to some man, but he that built all things is God. We're going to tear this down as we get to verse 6, because when you look at a house being built, and he's saying a house being built, this is the same example that you see when you get into these churches that you see that they call churches on the streets. This is how it works. This is what you see. Because every house is built to some man. So if it's the best example is a man, what he does, he built his own system to a body of believers of that house. Are you with me? You built a body of believers to that house. Meaning you got a body of believers built to Catholics. You have a body of believers built to Protestants. You have a body of believers built to Baptists. You have a body of believers built to holiness. You have a body of believers built to Lutheran. You have a body of believers built to Methodists and Pentecostal and Reforms and Orthodox and Jehovah's Witnesses and Latter-day Saints. These are the same thing that you see with scribes and Pharisees. Are you following me? These houses is built to some man. It's not hard to understand, because when we're looking at this in verse 4, it says, for every house is built to some man, but he that built all things is God. And so when he said, I'm building a house and my house is the one I'm going to use, he said, I'm going to put somebody over it. But Christ as the son over his own house, whose house we are. You see, it's not complex. It's not complex. But we're getting caught up. See, we're going to get caught up on this. And we're going to see a couple of things that we're going to work out all together in Hebrews. Hebrews going to let us know all things we need to know. Take your Bible. We're going to look at Deuteronomy chapter 23, and we're going to start at verse 17. It's going to be some things here that's hard to take. Watch what happens here. Deuteronomy chapter 23, verse 17, it says, there shall be no whore. Don't get mad at me. I'm just a messenger. There should be no whore of the daughters of Israel, nor homosexual, sodomite, of the sons of Israel. You with me? See, don't get mad at me, but I'm going to deliver the message. He said, no whore and no sodomite, no homosexual gonna be here. But he got more to say here. He gonna make some stuff really clear for you. Because many of these people, these same identical people, believe they're gonna sit there, well, I'm still going into the kingdom. It's telling you clearly right here. There shall be no whores in the house. Why do you think he got Christ over the house? Ain't no whores gonna be in there. Ain't no sodomites, no homosexuals gonna be in there. You can say what you want to say. They not gonna be there. But it get better. It get better. Let's look at Malachi chapter 3. We're gonna pick it up at verse 11. I'm gonna tell you something else not gonna be there. Verse 3, it says, the heads thereof judge for reward, and the priests thereof teach for hire, and the prophets thereof the divine for money. And the first thing come out their mouth is, yet will they lean upon the Spirit of God and say, is not the Lord among us? None evil can come upon us. That's a whore. That's a straight out, bona fide, low down whore. I don't care how you look at it, how you flip it, how you script it. That's a whore. Because they sitting there, they whoring for money. So they built them houses to where you can go in there and they can whore themselves to you. I don't care how we look at this, how you flip it, how you script it. This is the problem that we're going through right now. So what they do, they going to sell themselves and they take this doctrine and they have built up these buildings, and this is built up to some man. Let's look at this. Just look at this a little bit more. It says, for this man was counted more worthy and more glory than Moses. So I got a question for you. Each and every one of you guys, you need to think within yourself. Got a question. We ask questions that we need to answer. So Moses was counted more faithful. I want you to think about that. Moses, let me go up to verse 2. Just to prove to you the point, what I'm talking about. It said, who was faithful unto him that appointed him, also Moses was faithful in all his house. So I got a question. We always got questions that we need to answer. So let's look at this all together. Moses was counted more faithful than any one of us in all God's house. Moses. So I'm going to ask you a question, and it got a clear answer. So if he was more faithful than anybody in all the house, and the only one that outgloried him was Christ, you tell me, did Moses get pumped up? Was Moses pumped up on his shoes? Was he pumped up? Did Moses get pumped up? See, people going to tell you, a lot of them sit there, you got some going to want to always be right, so they're going to sit there and say, yeah, no, or maybe, or but. But they got a clear answer, and you need to know the answer. And all the simple, the question is, was Moses puffed up? He was more faithful. He was counted more faithful than any man, except Christ. So was Moses pumped up? 100% he was. 100% Moses was puffed up. People say, man, you saying something crazy. No, I'm not, because I'm going to prove the point. We're going to prove the point in here, and see, was he puffed up? And once you see it, you'll understand why you got to watch out and watch out for this flesh, because this flesh is dangerous, and that's why you had to put Christ over the house. We're going to see this. See, the danger of a lot of us, we feel on ourselves. We get all puffed up. See, I'm going to show you something. When you sit there and people like to congregate and they're doing this unto condemnation, in which the problem is. So I'm going to show you the same thing that you need to see, and we're going to find out, was Moses puffed up? Let's look at this in Numbers. We're going to go to Numbers chapter 20, and I want you to pick up at verse 10. Numbers 20, verse 10 is where we're going to start. And we're going to see what's going on with Moses. Moses. Ain't nobody else like Moses. He talked to Moses face to face. But was Moses puffed up? We get ready to find out. We had to investigate this to find out. Let's look at it. It says this. It says, and Moses and Aaron gathered the congregation together before the rock. So when he gathered everybody together, he was gathering them together for God, for him to do some work of God. That's the point. That's the point. But I'm going to show you what's going on here to where we can get some background logistics on this. Let's look at verse 7. It said, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, take the rod and gather thou the assembly together. So he want Moses to assemble the church for him, because he want Moses to do something. Not gather the people for Moses, gather the people for him. But watch what happened. Well, I want you to clearly see what happened. He said, thou and Aaron thy brother, speak ye unto the rock before their eyes, and it shall give forth was his water, and thou shalt bring forth them water out of the rock, so that they should give the congregation, his people, and their beasts. So you're going to congregate together for God, not to some man. But it gets better. It gets better than this. See, and Moses gathered and Aaron gathered the congregation together before the rock. And here's the problem one, because now Moses then got puffed up. Same as a lot of us. He done got puffed up. You're going to see it right here. Moses said this. This is what Moses said. And he said unto them, hear now, ye rebels. Who in the world is Moses to call God's people rebels? Problem one. These people was gathered together for God, and Moses gathered together like it's his house. Ye rebels. Because he got more to say here. Watch what he say here. He says, must we fetch you water out of this rock? Who in the world is Moses? God told him already what to do. God told him exactly what to do, and Moses talking about, do me and Aaron got to fetch you water out this rock? Let's look at something. This is why he say some people gonna build houses unto themselves. That's why the verse is so clear when you get to here. We're gonna look at 1 Corinthians chapter 11, and we're gonna pick this up at verse 34. 1 Corinthians chapter 11, and we're gonna look at verse 34 to get clear information on what we need to be doing anyway. It says, and if any man hunger, let him eat at home. If any man hunger, let him learn at home. It says that ye come not together unto condemnation. Don't be gathering together and you got a man sitting there doing this. They're going to use the same identical thing. They're going to build a place called this church to where they can assemble people together before a rock. And with that, they're going to take that and telling you they're going to give forth water. They're going to give you knowledge on what they're doing. This is exactly what Paul was talking about. These people done assemble together, and they assemble together under condemnation. Moses calling them ye rebels, meaning he calling them rebellious, you disobedient. Who is Moses? Who in the world is Moses? See, that's how you break that down. See, because he said, must we, me and my brother Aaron, need to fetch some rock, some water out of this rock for you. Now you see what the issue is with this big event. Now you see what the issue is. Now you know what's going on here. Now you know the issue that's going on all through here. Who in the world is Moses? God said, you gather these people together, and I want you to gather them together and assemble them together because I want you to do something for me. Not sit there telling the people like you God. So people go in their buildings and they can do these things to them. They sit there and say, okay, do I got to do this and do I have to do that for you? He told Moses to gather the people, assemble them. And he said, speak to the rock. Watch what he says here. He said, gather the people together and speak to the rock. That's all he said. And Moses is going to sit there and act crazy. Moses is going to sit there and do everything contrary. He said, the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, take the rod and gather and assemble the people together, and Aaron thy brother, and speak unto the rock. Moses said, no, I'm not doing that. Moses said, he gathered the people together, him and Aaron together before the people, and said unto them, hear now, ye rebels, must we fetch water out of this rock? You see it right there. Same as you see in any church that they call a church. But it get better. Moses lifted up his hand with the rod, smote the rock twice. You just seen God said, speak to the rock. Moses spoke, he smote the rock twice. God said, speak to the rock. Moses said, no, this is my people. I'm smoting the rock. So we see Moses did not speak to the rock, but he smote it twice. So it's the same thing that we got people doing today that's going in these church buildings saying they the house of God. But once they get you in there, they sit there and they're going to instruct you as if they're God. They're going to instruct God. You can't tell me this don't happen, because it happens. That's why you get in these buildings and they sitting there telling you, putting all these grievous things on you. And the first thing goes on, they say, hey, God told me to do this. God told me to tell you. God told me to do this. And you sit there, where is that found? That's all you got to say. Where is that found? But we too weak and too uneducated in the scriptures to sit there and even say that to them, because we're scared to say something to them. And all you got to do is ask them, where is it found? So they done sit there. Now they're in the position of God, and now they're going to tell God what to do. They're going to tell God what we once we get them in here, we can tell them all what we want them to do. In Job chapter 40, verse 2, in 40, verse 2, watch what this is in here. It says, he that contended with the Almighty instruct him. This is what's going on here. You're going to sit there and tell the Almighty, and you're going to tell him what he need to be doing. And the same thing is, he that reproveth God, God saying, let him answer. Let him answer it. You got so many people talking about, well, I still got to go to this church. I still got to go there. You're assembling under condemnation. That's why God had to be over the house. That's why he put Christ there. Because while you're assembling, and then you got someone else instructing you with worldly ambitions. worldly things. This showing you already you done assembled to condemnation. They instruct you, we need money for this. Oh, guess what? We need money for that. I just said even the other day, the first thing, soon as they start sitting there saying money, 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 the first thing you should say, God, let's go to Haggai chapter 2, verse 8. God said the gold and the silver is his. So we should get the money from him. This is our problem. They get you in this building and then they're going to instruct you, telling you this is what God said, but they going to instruct God. Same as Moses. Moses said there, must we fetch water out of this rock? Must we get this water out of this rock? God already told him what to do. Why he going to tell the people, you rebels? Why would you assemble yourself and you gonna sit there and the person telling you about worldly ambitions? These men give you instructions and instructions not of God. And the first thing you'll still sit there, he sure is godly. That just shows you that we are ignorant in scripture. Ain't no way around this. No way around when we sit there and someone can tell you God wants your money. The same event Moses did. Moses despitefully used his position. Despitefully used his position. As if now the people was his people. Think about that. But God gonna just be God. See, God just do God. So what you saying? He's just gonna be God. He said when you speak to the rock, water gonna flow out. But he still know the people needed water. So God gonna be God. Moses did it despitefully. God gonna still be God. He's not going to change his order for no one. Let's tear this down some. Let me show you what I'm talking about. We got to see what's going on here. Let's look at Matthew. We're going to go to Matthew, picking it up at verse 5, chapter 5, and we're going to go to verse 45 and find out what all this is talking about altogether. It says that ye may be children of your Father, which is in heaven, for he maketh his sun rise on the evil, including on the good. He send rain on the just and the unjust. He gonna do it regardless. He already instructed it. He's gonna do it. So Moses did stuff that he wasn't supposed to. God told him to assemble the people together. We got people in these buildings that we want to call churches today, and they're assembling unto condemnation. And God said, you assemble these people, and I want you to speak to the rock. And Moses said that, okay, no worry. We're going to get them together. We get them out there. Ye rebels, must we fetch water out this rock? Moses, when was it your people? You see, God corrected him. He corrected him later. So we're going to see something here. Watch what happened here. And Moses lifted up his hands, and with his rod he smote the rock twice, and water came out abundantly. And the congregation drank, and their beasts also. God just being God. God is just being God. But you're going to see something. He going to tell something to Moses later. And he says this, and watching verse 12, he says, he makes this clear. And the Spirit of God spake unto Moses and Aaron, because ye believe me not. Wow. See, because when you look at believe and you look at it in the Paleo Hebrew dictionary, it's going to tell you, you trust me not, but you can also even use you sitting there and you didn't give me no credit. I didn't have no credit with you. You didn't credit me not for nothing. You sitting there telling the people, must I fetch water out of this rock? Because you didn't trust me. Moses, you didn't trust me. You trust me not to sanctify, to separate me in the understanding of the children of Israel. Because that's all he's saying. In the eyes of Israel, the children of Israel, in the understanding, he wanted to make sure to where you can see the difference between the two. He's telling you this. He says, therefore, for that reason, ye shall not bring this congregation, this body of people into the land which I have given them. You ain't taking them in there. Why? You done got puffed up. Now you know why. Now you get to understanding what's going on. See, the same thing is he wanted Moses to sit there. I don't care how crazy it looked. Moses, when you get out there, you go to that rock. See that rock right there? Go to that rock. Go to that rock right there. Speak to the rock. Speak to it, Moses. Speak to that rock. And that rock gonna give water. See, because he wanted Moses to show something that he wanted people to see. He said, but Moses, you didn't trust me. You didn't trust me, Moses. See, and the same thing is to get them people to understand all what's going on is this here. We're going to sit there and we're going to look at this in Luke chapter 11. We're going to pick it up at verse 9, actually. In verse 9, it says, and say unto you, ask, Moses, just ask for water to come out the rock, and it shall be given unto you. Moses, I just want you to go up to the rock, ask for water to come from that rock, and it's going to be given unto you. You seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. Moses, that's all I want you to do. And what did Moses do? Moses is going to smoke the rock. Now, this is the second time this happened, because the first time he did tell him to smoke the rock. The first time he told him to. The second time he told him to talk to it. Actually, let me put it together. Let me show you something. You're going to look at Exodus. Let's go to Exodus. We're going to see this. We're going to see this because it happened twice. Most people don't even know it happened twice, but it happened twice. We're going to go to Exodus chapter 17, verse 6. And we're going to sit there and we're going to see what he told Moses the first time. We're going to start at verse 6. It says, remember, I will stand before thee there upon the rock in Horeb. So he's telling Moses something in Exodus that you see on one side, he said in Numbers, don't smoke the rock. But over here, he going to say, and thou shalt smite the rock, and there shall come water out of it, and the people may drink. And Moses did so in the sight of the elders of Israel. So you see, this was a two-time event. First time he said, smote the rock. The next time he said, talk to the rock. But we need to understand why he even said both. Why he said one time, smote it. The next time, speak to it. This is what we need to understand here. But most people will sit there, well, he did it for this. He did. If you don't know why, study it. Besides trying to sit there and play these guessing games. This is the reason Moses, according to the flesh, could not take the people into the promised land, including the example that you was even given here. People are assembling to themselves, and they're assembling to themselves and not under God. They assembling themselves and they'll sit there, have a church, have a name based on something, a word in church. Oh, we're going to call this the Church of Christ. Oh, now this is God's house. No, it's not. He said, don't assemble yourselves unto condemnation. If you want to learn at home. But don't you assemble unto condemnation. Was Moses not faithful? Was Moses not faithful? No, he was faithful. See, but Moses got caught up. He got caught up as being a servant of God. He got caught up. So God had to put things in place because men in flesh get puffed up. This is why stuff was put in place for that reason alone. Actually, let's look at something. Let's look at something. We're going to go to 1 Corinthians. Let's look at 1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians chapter 11. We're going right back over there. Chapter 11. We're going to pick it up at verse 3. We're going to look at verse 3 and we're going to see something there. And it says this. It says, but I would have you know that the head of every man, M-A-N, man or woman, is Christ. But Christ as a servant over the house. And every head of everybody is Christ. You say what you want to say. Doesn't matter. The head of every man is Christ. And the head of the woman is the man, giving you the understanding what's going on. And then he tells you, in the head of Christ is God. You can't put no this is why you got people in these churches, and the first thing you sit there and say, well, this is the way the church set up. The church set up like what? Is it set up for God? This is God's house. How is God's house? And you asking for worldly things. We need a new driveway. Okay, ask God. We need to paint the house. Ask God. We need some plumbing. Ask God. We need new carpet. Ask God. We need a new sound system. Ask God. He's already said, if you ask it to be given, he got all the money. Way more money than I got. I might can get you some boom boom system. He can get you a symphony. So why are you coming to me? Christ is the head of the house. So if he's the head of the house, go to Christ. Hey, Christ, let me talk to you. Let me talk to you. Come here, Christ. We need a new sound system. We don't sound good. We need a new sound system in this place. Go talk to God and tell God to drop a few dollars on you and I'll go get it. Since y'all spirit, I'll go get it and we'll have it hooked up. But we'll sit there and play boo-boo and let men tell us anything that they want to do. And well, I guess it's true. Well, yeah, it sounds true. No, the head of every man is Christ, and the head of Christ is God. Telling you one clearly known thing. Flesh is not running nothing. It ain't running nothing. And all they running is their mouths. That's why Christ came. That's why he came. To show you ain't running nothing. We had the biggest problem. The first thing, this is my shepherd. That's your who? We had the biggest problem in the world. Hebrews chapter 10, verse 5 tells you this. Because Christ is running everything. Christ is running the house. Christ is running the house. If he running the house, why in the world I got a peon coming to me telling me he need 10%? Let me go talk to Christ. Hey, Christ, what's going on, man? Dude, you said the burden was easy. See, it tells you this in verse 5. Hebrews chapter 10, verse 5. It says, wherefore, when he cometh into the world, when Christ comes in here and running everything, he says, sacrifice offering I would not, but a body. He's the head of the body. So I'm going to hold him responsible. Hey, Christ, you want what? Yeah, you go talk to God. You go talk to God. You the head of the man. And the head of you is God. You go to God. In fact, better yet, as he's saying it, let's look at this a little bit deeper. Let's look at this a little bit deeper here. We're going to go to Romans chapter 12. And it tells you even more clear. Romans 12 verse 1, it says, I beseech thee, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, separated, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. Because Christ is going to rest in there, and Christ is the head of the body. Are we having any problems? Are we having any difficulties? You see, this is not no rocket science. But we got men will tell you, you come here, and some of them say, well, we don't take offering. We don't take tithes. We don't do this. We just take offering. Okay, if you want an offering, go to Christ. He just told me, present my body as a living sacrifice. He didn't tell me to go in my pocket to get nothing. He already told me, when I take this journey, don't take nothing on my journey. So why are you asking me for some money? He said, don't bring no purse, no script, no money, no 2 coats apiece. So why in the world, I don't have nothing with me on this journey, or I'm not giving you nothing. Why are you asking me for money? Why? This is the question everyone should ask anyone. But the main thing is, we will sit in these buildings and sit there and still say, well, that's my pastor. Well, that's my pastor. Well, I just obey my pastor. This is why so many people, deservingly so, will go to hell. Shouldn't say nothing. Because you present your bodies a living sacrifice, wholly acceptable unto God. Don't take nothing with you on this journey. And guess what? You don't have no money. Let's look at something. Let's go to 1 Corinthians. We're going to look at 1 Corinthians, picking up at chapter 3. We're going to look at verse 17 and get something real clear here on what's going on, because he is the head of the house. So if he's the head of a house, and why it tells you exactly what's going on, it's actually, I'm going to show you 2 things. So if he's the head of the house, you done presented your body as living sacrifice. It says, know ye not that ye are the temple of God, and the temple and the Spirit of God dwelleth in you? Because he's the head of the house. How do we need to keep going through this time and time and time again? And the first thing, some man can sit there and just tell you some things, and you'll say, yeah, it sounds true. Well, yeah, I can go with that. And that's why he says this here in verse 17. If any man defile the temple of God, him shall God destroy, for the temple of God is holy, which temple ye are. So if you want to be boo-boo the fool, then you have all rights in the world to go to hell. All rights. Actually, I'm going to show you something. I want to show you something else. I want to make sure we clearly get this. Clearly understanding what's going on here. Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon. Wisdom of Solomon, it says this. We're going to pick it up at chapter 2. We're going to drop down at verse 23. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2, verse 23, and understand a little bit more what's going on with Hebrews. And we're going to see this real good, real clear. It said, for God created man to be immortal. This is our problem. This is our 100% problem. Why am I saying that? Because if he created him to be immortal and made him to be an image of his own eternity, so when he don't want you, you ain't gonna, people teach, well, you'll just be dead and you ain't gonna never come back and nothing. No, he created you to be immortal. So your spirit that's inside of you is immortal. The flesh gonna go back to what it was, but you covered in flesh. You covered in sin. So since you covered in sin and your spirit is spirit and it's immortal, so when he don't want you, he gonna put you away out of his sight and he gonna put you into the lake of fire and you gonna burn there eternally. Oh, this is clear. Oh, this is real. You get this in your head. You get this deep and thick into your head. So you can sit there and think, oh no, it's not going to happen to me sitting in that building. Oh yeah, it's going to happen to you. Stay there. Trust in what's in there. Trust in what's in there. And when you sit there, something cooking. Yeah, look around you. Because it's going to be you. It's going to be you. So that's why he says he's the head of the body. And he's telling you, but Christ as a son, as a servant over his own house. So when he come down there, he's going to be over the house. He's the servant. And this is the one who he's well pleased in. He ain't pleased in the flesh. Where we get this stuff from? We get this stuff from men telling you all this silliness. He ain't pleased nowhere close in flesh. Nowhere. But people, Jesus Christ is the Son of God. Really? If he's the Son of God, why is not flesh and blood can't go into heaven? Because he was flesh and blood. He ain't going in there. So how is he the Son of God? Let's look at this. Let's look at some of this. This is just showing you the silliness and the pure silliness that's taught. Let's look at this 1 Peter chapter 1, 2 Peter chapter 1. We're going to pick it up at verse 17. Verse 17 is making some of this real clear for us. It says, for he received from God. He received from God the Father honor and glory, meaning you're going to receive the Spirit of God. Honor and glory. And it's telling you even more. It says, and when there came such a voice to him from the excellent glory, this is my beloved servant. This is my beloved son. This is my beloved son in whom I'm well pleased. He ain't pleased in flesh. If he were pleased in it, flesh and blood will go to heaven. But he ain't pleased in it. This is the silliness that we need to understand, because these things goes on and people keep telling you time and time and time again, oh no, this is this. Because why? They got you in a building that's built to some man. Yahweh, some say Jesus, whatever one you want to use, it don't matter to me. But if you know someone's name, why not use it? He received the servant of God. And he heard the announcement on what went on. This is my beloved son, in whom I'm well pleased. He heard it. But the main thing is what went on with Christ. Is what went on with Christ. See, actually, I'm going to show you this. I want to make sure you see, make sure we get this all together. We're going to look at 4, but we're going to go up to 3. We're going to go to 3, and we're going to see what happened here. It says, and when Yahweh, when he was condemned, went straightway out of the water, and lo, the heavens were open, and he saw the Spirit of God descending like a dove and lighting upon him. And lo, a voice from heaven saying, this is my beloved servant in whom I'm well pleased. Not in the man, in what he sent. Where's the complications, y'all? Can you tell me? And this is what goes on. And then the difference between flesh and spirit has a lot to do with everything. Because without that, flesh gonna talk back. Look at Moses. Moses, who was faithful in all his house, talked back. Ye rebels. See, Christ don't talk back. Christ just do what he's supposed to do. That's who he's well pleased in, not flesh. Let's look at some of this. Let's look at some of this. See, this is the difference between flesh and spirit. This is the difference on what's going on. Let's go to Isaiah. We're going to see something in Isaiah that's real clear to us. Real clear to us, and we can't get around it. We're going to go to Isaiah 53. We're going to pick it up at verse 7. Isaiah 53 and verse 7. And we're going to see something extremely clear. It says, he was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. Who? Christ. Not flesh, Christ. Because we're going to see a difference. I promise you, we're going to see a 100% difference. He didn't open his mouth. And it says more, and he was brought as a lamb to slaughter, as a sheep before his shearers as dumb. So he opened not his mouth. He didn't even open his mouth. He was oppressed. What did he say? He didn't say nothing. Nothing. And the same thing is, when he sent him down, what did he say? Nothing. Let me show it to you. I'm going to show it to you to make sure we can't get around it. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 18, verse 15. It says this and makes this perfectly clear for all of us to get. And it says this. It says, the almighty word leaped down out of heaven, out of thy royal throne as a fierce man of war into the land of destruction. Didn't say nothing. Absolutely nothing. Are you following me? Now, the same thing went on with Yahushua. Now we see the Spirit didn't say a word. This Spirit, why you think he had to be over the house? Actually, let's look at this. This here I'm talking about is clear as day, but we want to sit there and we always want to justify. But be quiet on that. Luke chapter 22, picking it up at verse 41. 22 verse 41. Watch what it says here. We're going to see something what Yahushua did according to the flesh. According to flesh. 41. It says this and it makes it clear. And Yahushua was there and it says, and he was withdrawn from them, who Yahushua, Jesus for some, about a stone cast and kneeled down and prayed. Let's see what did Yahushua or Jesus do when he caught up in flesh. Because it tells you Christ ain't opened his mouth and he was oppressed. Watch this. Saying, Father, providing thou be willing, remove this cup from me. Wait a minute. We got a problem. He was oppressed. He was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. Yahushua over here opening his mouth. So how you going to sit there and say that's Yahushua over here in 53? And over here you see he's opening his mouth. Father, if you can pass this cup from me, Lord, I don't want to go through this. I don't want to go through this. That's flesh talking. Christ ain't saying a word. So we're going to see what happened. He said, nevertheless, not my will, but thy will be done. See, he's still letting them know it's still your will. But Lord, if you got a way out of this, let me get out of this. Christ ain't said a word. He ain't opened his mouth. Ain't said nothing. Nothing. And the first thing people say, well, that's Jesus. That's Jesus. Jesus over here begging for his life. Christ ain't said nothing. Nothing at all. So we're going to see a little something that happened. Watch this. We're going to see something. Verse 42, it says this here. Thy will be done. But watch what happened in verse 43. It says, and there appeared a messenger, an angel, unto him from heaven, strengthening him. He strengthened. Hey, bro, you going through this. You ain't getting out of this. You getting ready to go through some things. In fact, I'm going to make sure you understand this, bro. Let's look at that. Let's look at this, little brother. We're going to see something. In John chapter 1, verse 29. Don't never forget this, my little brother. And I know you know this. It says, the next day John seeth Yahushua or Jesus coming unto him. And he said, remember the Lamb of God. You are the fleshly sacrifice. You going through this, bro. Which taketh away the sin of the world. I can care less what you think, how you think it, what you feel. You going through this. So he's showing him the silhouette picture he need to know. Let's look at this. And he want to get out of it. He want to get out of this. But you got to go through this. You going through this. See, in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, picking it up at verse 45, it says this and makes this pretty clear. 15:45. And we get there and it says this. It says, and so it is written, the first man, Adam, was made a living soul. The first man, Adam, was made a living soul. However, the last Adam was made a quickening spirit. So the problem is this. The problem is all this here. Let's go back over here to Isaiah chapter 53. We're going to pick it up at verse 8. Because it says this. It says, he was taken from prison and from the judgment, and who shall declare his generation? Let's finish out. We're going to come back to that. For he was cut out of the land of the living. He was cut out. He was cut completely out. Cut off. And watch what it said. It's saying, for the transgression of my people, he was stricken. He was cut out of this. So the thing is, who going to declare his generation? Who going to declare the people of Christ? Who's going to declare the body of Christ? Who's going to declare these people? Who's going to declare Christ? Who's going to declare this generation? Who? Oh yeah, crickets start rolling around. We got crickets rolling. See, because I'm going to show you something. We're going to look at some records. I'm going to show you some records here. We're going to go to Matthew. I'm going to go to Matthew right now. We're going to look at this. Matthew, it says, this is the records of Yahushua the Messiah, the son of David, the son of Abraham. So it's going to go through and you're going to see they're going to declare this generation on this one. No issues, right? There's no issues. No issues there. Because it'll go down and it's going to tell you everything according to the flesh. But it even goes on more. We'll look at it a little bit more. Let's go to Genesis chapter 5. We're going to look at 5:1. It says, this is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that God created man, in the likeness of God made he him. Are you serious? So it's asking you, who going to declare him? Who going to declare Christ? Who going to do this? Who is going to do this here? See, this is the thing. This is what's going on. This is why it's so important to understand exactly what you're doing. It's not about this craziness. This is not about all people going around sitting there talking about, I know who he is. I know this. I know this. I'm going to declare this. No, he ain't even saying that. But people will ignorantly sit there and say things as such. This is the problem. People, well, I'm going to declare, I'm going to make this known. He ain't even saying that. He ain't said nothing about that. Oh, people, I'm making that. He's Alpha Omega. Really? Really? Are you serious? It's the stupidest thing when people, when he's talking about you're going to declare the records of something, he's telling you clear as day what you're going to declare because he's going to see what you're going to do about it. This is what people do. This is what people do. People do this thing and actually don't know the viable essence that you need to know. Oh, he's my savior. Really? Really? People have a problem and need to understand what's going on. So I'm gonna show you something. I want to show you something. Let's look at this. Let's look at this all together. We're gonna go to Isaiah. We're gonna go to Sirach. Let's look at Sirach. We're gonna look at Sirach, and I'm gonna take you somewhere. We're gonna look, and we're gonna get some better understanding. In Sirach chapter 24, Sirach 24, we're gonna look at verse 9, and it says, He created me from the beginning, before the world, and I shall never fail. Why? Because he's with God. He's with God. This is what's going on, what's happening today. This is what's happening every day of the week. This is why it's so important to understand what is happening when you sit there and you do what you need to do. This is why you sit there and you take these things on what you need to do all the time. So people will sit there and say, oh, I need this. I need that. I need this. I need that. This is the problem that goes on with people. This is the problem that happens with people. Because everything needs to be clear with scripture, because he's telling you who is going to declare them. Because he's saying Christ was set up. He was set up from the beginning and should never fail. And then it tells you even more here, which we're going to get. It says, in the holy tabernacle, I served before him. And so I was established in Zion. This is what's going on here. This is what's happening here and what you did clearly get. Because anybody talking about they're going to sit there and they're going to declare and make something known is making it known. See, most people will sit there and tell you all kinds of silly stuff. Oh, well, I'm going to declare this and I'm going to declare that. How are you going to declare? You don't even know who you're declaring. Christ is head of the house. Let's look at this all together. So we're going to find out a couple of things here. We're going to find out a few things here. Let's look at this in Proverbs. We're going to see this in Proverbs. One second. We're going to get Proverbs. And we're going to go to chapter 8 and picking it up at verse 22. 8:22. And it says this. It says, the Spirit of God possessed me in the beginning of his way, before his work of old. I want you to think about that. See, because he's going to take a whole bunch more. And you're going to see something. It says, I was set up from everlasting. I was set up from everlasting, from the beginning, or ever the earth was. Meaning the Spirit was set up. Set up is just talking about something, the voice of God was set up in place. But you're going to see more here. It says, and when there was no depths, I was brought forth. When there was no foundation, abounding with water, before the mountains were settled, before the hills was brought forth, and while as yet as he had not made the earth, nor the fields, nor the highest parts of the dust of the world? When he prepared the heavens, I was there. I was there, is what he said. He said, I was there. So we need to understand the same thing. When all God was setting up all this stuff, Christ was there. Not Jesus the man. Christ was there. And it says more here. And it says, and when he set a compass on the face of the depth, when he established the clouds above, when he strengthened the foundation of the deep, when he gave the sea its degree and the water, it should not pass the commandments. When he appointed the foundation, I was by him as one brought up with him. Christ was there, not some man. That's why I say people have so many problems on this alone, because we got to see what's going on. And this same one who do it, what you seeing right here, who is going to declare this for him? He says, sacrifice or offering you what is not but a body. But we're going to see something, because when you're going to do that, I'm going to show you what happens here. I'm going to show you something that happens here. We're going to go to Philippians. We're going to look at verse 2. We're going to pick this up at verse 6. And it says, who being in the form of God, thought it not robbery to be equal to God, which is the word of God. It's eternal. It's eternal. So what's the problem being equal to God? It's eternal and it's coming from God. He thought it not robbery to be equal to God. And then it tells you right there, it says, but he made himself of no reputation and took upon him the form of a servant and was made in the likeness of men. And it's running you right back again, right back to Hebrews chapter 10. Right back here again. Can't get around it. Takes you right back to Hebrews chapter 10, picking up at verse 5. He says, wherefore when he cometh into the world, he says, sacrifice or offering thou wilt not, but a body thou hast prepared me. Because I need you to be my servant. And I'm going to sit there and we're going to mortify, we're going to condemn all the deeds of the flesh. And we're going to sit there and you're going to do what I need to do. In fact, let's pour a little bit more of this in there. We need to pour more of this in there together. We're going to pour a little bit more of this in there. In Romans chapter 8. In Romans 8, it says this. For what the law could not do, and it was weak through the flesh, God sending his own servant in the likeness of sinful flesh, and for sin, condemned sin in flesh. So with that, he condemned it and let you know what flesh ain't going to do. So if ye live after the flesh, in verse 13, ye shall die. That's why Christ is over the house. Christ is 100% over the house. Because if you live after the flesh, you're going to die. But if you live through the spirit, do mortify the deeds of the body, you're going to live. So we know that Christ was there in the beginning. In the beginning, God did all things. And we're going to see even more so where John clears it up and helps you out a lot. Beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. You were with him because we just seen it in Proverbs. And it says, and the Word was God. It came from him. It came from him. And God even said this. He made sure. Watch what God do. You're going to see what the Spirit of God doing, but you're going to see it's working through God. And you see in this in Genesis chapter 1, verse 3. It says this. It says, and God said, let there be light. And there was light. Why? Christ is obedient. So it goes right back to what we're looking at in Hebrews chapter 3, verse 6. But Christ, as the servant over his own house, he had to be servant over these bodies. So whatever body he's into, he have to be the servant of it to where he can do the things exactly what God wants to do. He's the one that God is well pleased in. This is clear. This is clear as day. So we need to understand how this actually works out. So if we're sitting there and we sit there and we talk about a lot of these things, I'm going to show you something the way we keep this as a takeaway that we need to understand. This is a takeaway we need to just take away with. Let's go to 2 Samuel. 2 Samuel, we're going to see something. 2 Samuel, we're going to look at verse 7, chapter 7, and we're going to go to verse 6. 7:6. And it says, whereas I have not dwelt in any house since the time that I brought up the children of Israel out of Egypt. He ain't dwelt in any house. Any house. I'm only pausing for effect. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. He said, I haven't dwelt in any house since I brought the children of Israel out of Egypt. And if you sit there and you say, well, he's in our house, he's in our church, then guess what? You calling God a liar. I'm telling you, we can't get out our own way. And he's telling you what he even did. He says, but have walked in tent, including in a tabernacle. Really? Yeah. Oh, he'll come visit. Oh, he'll visit. But I have walked in a tent and in a tabernacle. So the main thing is who you need to have over your house. Because you sitting there thinking, oh, I'm going to be over my house. Okay, you doing the wrong thing and you're going to have the wrong problems that are going to go on wrong later. Because you're doing a whole lot of wrong stuff. In Hebrews chapter 10, picking up at verse 21, it says this, and make sure this is clear for all of us on the way out. It says, in having a high priest over the house of God. It's telling you this right here. It's telling you this, but Christ as the son over the house. So if we don't have him over the house, then you got a problem. Then you got a clear problem here because Christ is over the house. So if Christ ain't over the house, I don't know who's over your house. I don't know who is over your house. So with that, we're going to get ready. We're going to go back and we're going to get this here and get some better understanding. Basically, I'm just going to run the precepts there because we kind of ran late yesterday, but we want to get some information and then we're going to go out from there. So with that one, and just same thing like I said, make sure if you guys have all strength possible, and I'm just letting people know for December 19th, these two young men, these two young deacons, they're going to be bringing forth the Christmas, a heathen holiday. And they're going to bring up something that most people are always searching for. They're going to give you the birthday to Jesus. They're going to give you the birthday to Yahushua. So if you want to make sure you catch them on December 25th, go over to OKC, King James Bible University, and we got Deacon Smith and Deacon Micah, and that's ran over there by Deacon Micah. They're going to drop the hammer down. They dropping the hammer down. So you set it for that. You set it for that, and anyone who's sitting there contrary to it, you tell them to go there on that day. You go over there on that day because they're going to be cutting heads and taking names on that day. So that's what I want you to make sure you see. But what we're going to do, we're going to get ready to go in the back. We're going to make sure we get the precepts that was ran here, and then from there, we're going to prepare for tomorrow, which we'll be going through the book of Proverbs, and we're going to be commencing from there. So with that, I say to each and every person, if you look down in the description, you'll see the link to where you can get in there. You'll see the link and it'll show you where the summary is to where you can get in there. So with that, I say to each and every person. So until tomorrow, I say to everyone, shalom.